The allegations surrounding the birth of Archie Mountbatten Windsor, son of Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, have escalated far beyond typical celebrity gossip, evolving into a potentially explosive situation with significant implications for the Sussexes' public image and the monarchy itself. A woman's claim to have been paid to act as a surrogate for Archie and subsequently remain silent has thrust the couple into a crisis of credibility, forcing them into a precarious position where silence may prove far more damaging than any public response. The central allegation, made by an unnamed woman, asserts that she was hired as a surrogate for Meghan Markle and subsequently compensated for her silence. This claim, far from being a fleeting tabloid rumor, has gained traction due to the woman's assertion of possessing substantial evidence, including legal documents and details of meetings and agreements. The claim, therefore, is not simply an anonymous accusation. It is a serious allegation backed by the promise of verifiable evidence. The claim, therefore, is not simply a rumor. It is a potentially devastating allegation with the potential to significantly damage the Sussexes' reputation. The Sussexes' complete silence in response to these allegations is particularly striking, given Meghan Markle's well-documented history of aggressively confronting negative press coverage and defending her image. Her past actions, including lawsuits and carefully crafted public statements, contrast sharply with her current silence, leading to speculation that this silence stems from fear rather than a strategic decision. The silence, therefore, is not simply a lack of response. It is a strategic choice that is being interpreted as a sign of guilt or fear. The silence, therefore, is not simply an absence of communication. It is a powerful statement that is being interpreted as an admission of guilt. The issue at hand transcends the question of surrogacy itself. While surrogacy is increasingly common among celebrities, the alleged cover-up and the payment for silence raise serious ethical and legal questions. The alleged actions, therefore, are not simply a matter of personal choice. They are potentially illegal and morally reprehensible. The alleged actions, therefore, are not simply a matter of privacy. They are potentially criminal acts that could have significant legal consequences. The timing of the allegations, coinciding with the Sussexes' carefully constructed public image, further amplifies their impact. Meghan Markle's pregnancy announcements, often resembling brand reveals rather than personal announcements, and the lack of a traditional hospital photo after Archie's birth, have been re-examined in light of these allegations. These past actions, therefore, are not simply isolated incidents. They are now being interpreted as potential evidence of a deliberate attempt to control the narrative surrounding Archie's birth. These past actions, therefore, are not simply past events. They are now being interpreted as potential evidence of a deliberate attempt to deceive the public. The woman's claim is not based on vague assertions. She reportedly possesses concrete details, including dates, locations, and names of individuals involved in the alleged agreement. This level of detail, therefore, makes the allegations far more credible and difficult to dismiss. The level of detail, therefore, is not simply circumstantial evidence. It is potentially damning evidence that could significantly impact the Sussexes' reputation. The silence of both Meghan and Harry is particularly concerning, given their past emphasis on transparency and authenticity. Their carefully curated public image, built on a foundation of honesty and emotional vulnerability, is now directly threatened by these allegations. The silence, therefore, is not simply a lack of response. It is a betrayal of the values they have publicly espoused. The silence, therefore, is not simply a communication failure. It is a potential crisis of credibility that could significantly damage their reputation. The allegations also raise questions about Prince Harry's role in the alleged cover-up. His past public statements about protecting his family and his outspoken criticism of the media raise questions about his knowledge and complicity in the alleged deception. Harry's silence, therefore, is not simply a matter of personal choice. It is a potential indicator of his involvement in the alleged cover-up. Harry's silence, therefore, is not simply a lack of response. It is a potential sign of guilt or complicity. The timing of the allegations, coming years after Archie's birth, suggests a potential shift in the woman's motivations. Her claim, therefore, is not simply a sudden revelation. It is a calculated move, potentially driven by a change in circumstances or a feeling of betrayal. The timing, therefore, is not simply coincidental. It is a strategic decision with significant implications. The allegations have prompted a re-evaluation of past events surrounding Meghan Markle's pregnancy, including the unusual angles of her baby bump in photographs and the lack of a traditional hospital photo after the birth. These previously dismissed details are now being viewed as potential clues, raising questions about the transparency surrounding Archie's birth. The re-evaluation, therefore, is not simply a matter of speculation. It is a serious examination of past events in light of new information. The re-evaluation, therefore, is not simply a change in perspective. It is a potential unraveling of a carefully constructed narrative. The situation, therefore, presents a significant challenge to Meghan and Harry's carefully constructed public image. Their silence, in the face of increasingly credible allegations, is fueling speculation and eroding public trust. The situation, therefore, is not simply a public relations crisis. It is a potential legal and ethical disaster. The situation, therefore, is not simply a matter of image. It is a potential threat to their credibility and their future. The situation, therefore, is not simply a crisis of communication. It is a crisis of credibility that could have far-reaching consequences. The longer the Sussexes remain silent, the more damaging the allegations become. The lack of a response is being interpreted as an admission of guilt, fueling speculation and eroding public trust. The silence, therefore, is not simply a lack of response. It is a strategic error that is compounding the damage. The silence, therefore, is not simply a communication failure. It is a strategic error that is accelerating the erosion of public trust. In conclusion, the allegations surrounding Archie's birth represent a significant threat to Meghan and Harry's carefully constructed public image and could have far-reaching consequences for their future. The woman's claim, backed by the promise of substantial evidence, and the Sussexes' continued silence, have created a perfect storm of speculation and mistrust. The situation, therefore, is not simply a matter of gossip. It is a potential crisis of credibility with far-reaching implications. The situation, therefore, is not simply a public relations challenge. It is a potential legal and ethical disaster with the potential to significantly damage their reputation and their future.